This section shows the tissue surrounding the external ear canal. Skin lines the canal with hair follicles, sweat glands, sebaceous glands, and ceruminous glands located in this collagenous dermis. Plates of hyaline cartilage that support the canal can be recognized as these blue-purple masses. Let me show you some more details of this cartilage at a higher magnification of this region here. Oh, don't concern yourself with these obvious radial bands across the cartilage. They're simply folds in the tissue and therefore they're artifacts. The connective tissue surrounding the cartilages stains pink with hematoxylin and eosin because of its coarse type 1 collagen fibers. This area of connective tissue immediately adjacent to the cartilage is called the perichondrium. The cartilage matrix stains blue because it contains negatively charged glycosaminoglycans and chondroitin sulfates. It also has very fine type 2 collagen fibrils. These are below the level of visualization of the light microscope, but still impart a pink hue to the matrix with hematoxylin and eosin staining. Let's now take a look at a higher magnification view of hyaline cartilage, but from the bronchus. Large chondrocytes are scattered throughout the cartilage, each embedded in its own space or lacuna within the gel-like matrix. In life, a chondrocyte is just big enough to fill the cavity around it, but unless the preservation is very good, the matrix shrinks to enlarge the cavity and the cell shrivels as it's dehydrated, so that the remains of the cell seem to lie in a space or cavity too large for it. Empty spaces around the cells, or at least their nuclei, are quite diagnostic of cartilage. The composition of cartilage matrix is not uniform. Adjacent to the lacunae, the territorial or capsular matrix stains more intensely blue because it has a higher concentration of chondroitin sulfate. Between the lacunae, the interterritorial zones of cartilage stain pinker because of the higher proportion of collagen type 1 fibers. Some lacunae are grouped together in 2s, 4s or more, here, here and here. These cell nests, often called isogenous groups, indicate where chondrocytes have divided within the cartilaginous matrix. Subsequently, the cells will secrete matrix around themselves to isolate each in its own lacuna. The distance between each lacuna in a nest is related to the length of time since the cells divided. Growth of the cartilage from within in this manner is called interstitial growth, and it leaves cell nests or isogenous groups as its trace. Cartilage can also grow incrementally from the surface. Most cartilages are covered by a double-layered perichondrium. The outer fibrous layer is made up of dense, irregular, ordinary connective tissue and is easily seen. It's essentially just an adventitia. Underneath is a thin, more obscure chondrogenic, which means cartilage-producing, layer made up of very small numbers of flattened chondroblasts. These cells can divide, and the progeny then secrete matrix around themselves to form more cartilage. Once a chondroblast surrounds itself with matrix, it becomes relatively inactive, so it is referred to as a chondrocyte instead of a chondroblast. It then expands into a large spherical cell while continuing to at least monitor or slowly maintain the content of the matrix. Growth of cartilage in this way is called appositional growth. You can see the progressive stages of appositional growth as you scan from flattened cells at the edge of the cartilage to the plump, large chondrocytes deeper down. The chondroblasts themselves are difficult to pick out. One reason is that chondrogenesis essentially stops in the adult. As you know, the cartilages in your nose and ears grow only very slowly now that you're an adult. The chondrogenic layers of the perichondria are reduced to a seam of very flattened, inactive cells, difficult to distinguish from the fibroblasts of the overlying fibrous layer of connective tissue. You can tell where the edge of the cartilage is by where the bluish background stops. Farther out or away from the cartilage, you can pick out where the presence of bundles of collagenous fibres marks the fibrous layer of the perichondrium. In between, the cells surrounded by neither cartilage matrix nor collagen fibres are chondroblasts. Another important feature of cartilage worth observing is its vasculature, or lack of. There are never capillaries, arterioles or venules in adult stable cartilage. They're found only in the perichondrium, although they are not seen in this particular image and beyond. This means that nutrients must pass by diffusion from capillaries at the periphery to cells within the cartilage. Chondrocytes adapt by storing significant amounts of glycogen and switching to anaerobic metabolism. One histological consequence is that chondrocytes often appear shrunken or tattered in their lacunae because the granules of glycogen get leached out during tissue preparation. Of course, if the tissue had been stained with a periodic acid shift reagent, the glycogen would show up as granules throughout the cytoplasm. Keep this in mind because we will soon look at chondrocytes stained just this way when I describe bone formation or osteogenesis in a later lecture. One thing I'd like to emphasize is that hyaline cartilage varies in staining properties from one organ to another, and even within the same given piece of cartilage. It varies because the amounts and ratios of glycosaminoglycans in the matrix changes with aging. Eventually, any altered chemistry can lead to calcification and death of cells.